You are listening to the Purdue Report with Jake Dunn every week on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Jake and I will be back on Saturday to react to top-ranked Purdue's home game against Iowa State. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what we're doing. And what we're doing is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Also, I recently had some dental surgery, so please forgive me if I sound a little like Daffy Duck. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, Boilermaker fans, for this week's Purdue Report. After another incredibly disappointing football season comes to an end, we will now spend most of our Purdue reports talking about the top-ranked Purdue Boilermakers, an 81-65 winner at Rutgers on Tuesday night. Jake, not only was it a win, it was a Big Ten win, Big Ten opener. It was a Big Ten road win, and it was a dominating Big Ten road win.
And Purdue has historically over the past 8 years kind of struggled with these, road openers. I think they were 2-6 over the last 8 years in these road openers here in the Big Ten. So glad to see them come out here and dominate against a Rutgers team that frankly isn't very good. So glad, Purdue was in control for basically the entire game. To me, it never really felt like Rutgers really had much of a chance to win. And that, was a big part of Purdue was able to go on kind of 3 big runs there in the first half and then a 12-0 burst to open the second half and that stretched the lead to 25 at that point. So, really dominant win and definitely things that we need to kind of get in line here before Iowa State on Saturday. Pretty good win.
And there were a lot of really good individual performances. We'll go through some of those. But this night was really about Braden Smith saying, hey, if you need me to score, I can score. If you need me to be the facilitator, I can be the facilitator. I can do whatever you need me to do.
Absolutely. He was just fantastic tonight. 16 points, 8 assists. Was shooting 50%, 4 of 8 from 3. So when he hit those first 2 threes there at the beginning of the game, I was like, all right, he's in for a big night. So Rutgers again, they're not a very good team, so he kind of had his way with them. To your point, could score, could pass, could have had a couple more assists if his teammates would have made some of their shots they would normally make, or would catch the ball. But he was Purdue was plus 22 when Braden Smith was on the floor, so he was able to manage the tempo. Any pressure that Rutgers kind of threw at Purdue, he was able to break. And as always, he just consistently is making the right read.
I saw a tweet, the Braden Smith assist meter, I guess, said at his current rate, they would have to play to the Big Ten championship and the national championship, but he could pass the assist record in the Final Four in Indianapolis. So that would be something if that could happen.
That would be really cool. Against teams like this, bad teams or teams that aren't as good. This is where you can really kind of rack up those assists. It's going to be up to the discretion of the scorekeeper on some of the passes. So he maybe could have had a couple more, and maybe we'll see something like in the past couple weeks. There was they came out and credited him with another assist because the scorekeeper missed one. I forget which game it was with, but. So we may see another 1 or 2 of those. So I thought the 8 was a little bit low. It might be 1 or 2 off, but still a really good performance from him, and would love to see him break that, especially in Indy. It'd be really special.
And the other All-American, Trey Kaufman-Renn, 7 for 11 from the field, 19 points, employing what I'm now calling the Sellersburg shot put, the 25-foot floater, whatever that is. It's a unique shot in college basketball, that's for sure. Maybe a unique shot in basketball, and it's fantastic. 13 rebounds, 4 of those on the offensive end, 3 assists as well. Good court vision. Oscar Clough, his running mate, not nearly as good as he has been lately. 8 points, but he was 4 for 8 from the field, 3 rebounds, and was just fine. Fine defensively as well. Those guys are getting the job done up front.
I obviously been really impressed, as we've talked about all season, with TKR and his tenacity on the glass. 3 assists too. We talked about him earlier in the season being an improved passer, and especially those plays where he'll kind of lob it up there. He'll be kind of the high-low game with him and Oscar Clough or Daniel Jacobson, and him kind of tossing it up there by the rim and just letting them go and get it. I really like seeing those plays, and I think it's a unique kind of wrinkle that Purdue can put in the offense here that not every team can. Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. Jakari Harris
feels like Oscar Clough is really starting to fit in fairly well, and he is just a monster on the offensive boards.
I mean, and even I know he only had 3 rebounds tonight, but I mean, it just felt like he had his hand on a lot of those rebounds and loose balls. So the stats won't show really how effective he is in the rebounding game. A lot of times they got to throw 2 guys at him to keep him off the glass. So even if the numbers aren't big on the stat sheet, in the game, he makes a huge impact on the glass.
There was nothing that I saw from Oscar Clough on Tuesday night that made me feel like he didn't have a good performance, even though the numbers wouldn't say that he was a standout for sure.
The personal fouls, both he and Jacobson had 3, so thought maybe 1 or 2 of those weren't necessarily too big of fouls, but as the season goes on, as we get deeper into conference play, I want to make sure we have those in check when we're playing, Michigan or Michigan State, teams like that. Besides the fouls, didn't really have much of anything negative to say there.
And you started to mention Jakari Harris, 11 points off the bench, without question the number 1 guy off the bench. Imagine what the score would have been if Fletcher Lawyer, Omer Mayer, and CJ Cox were making shots tonight, because between them they couldn't make anything, and they still ran away with this game. A 16-point win that wasn't that close.
No, it always felt like a 20-point game from really halfway through the first half or so. The last 10 minutes of the game, it just felt like Purdue wasn't really trying defensively. I felt like they could have held Rutgers to about 50 points if they really wanted to. To your point, felt like offensively they weren't hitting a lot of shots they probably would normally. So always good to get a win, especially on the road in the Big Ten. Enough first in the conference, which is great. Again, something we've talked about Purdue hasn't always done here in these road openers. I think for Iowa State being back at home, I think we'll see those numbers kind of flip.
Just because the Big Ten play has begun doesn't mean that the non-conference is over. In fact, 3 pretty big ones coming up. Iowa State, Marquette, and Auburn, sandwiched around a Minnesota Big Ten home game. Minnesota may be the worst team in the Big Ten, although there are 4 or 5 pretty bad ones. Iowa State on Saturday, a noon tip on CBS, and another big test.
And just to mention on Marquette real quick, I saw they went into overtime with Valparaiso, and nothing against Valparaiso, but if you're going into overtime against Valparaiso at home, you probably have probably not a very good team.
This is not a good Marquette team. Yearly, from the results even before that, not a good Marquette team. They lost to Dayton. They lost to Indiana by 23. They clearly have not been a good team even before tonight, but at least they came away with a win.
That is true. But against that game, that is at home. But I think we'd see a pretty similar performance from tonight. Hopefully, a little bigger margin in the win column there. I'm sure we'll probably see a pretty similar performance tonight, where Purdue feels that pretty much in control. Iowa State, to your point, Saturday is going to be a good test. We talked about them before. They got some good pieces on their team, and I think it'll be a really good game. Close one, but with it being in Mackey, I think Purdue will pull away with that one.
We talked a little bit about this the other night, but Purdue is favored in all but one of the rest of their games the rest of the way. That, according to ESPN Analytics, that is at Indiana on the 27th. But this game, it has Purdue with just a 55.5% chance of beating Iowa State. So clearly the analytics are high on the Cyclones.
They beat St. John's earlier in the year by one. Could argue St. John's isn't a very good team. They were ranked high to start the year. They kind of struggled here at the start. They beat a okay Creighton team by 18, and they blew out Syracuse, who tonight actually just beat Tennessee
Right.
at Syracuse. So haven't played anybody really to produce caliber yet, but still a really good team with some really good players, and a couple in particular. Taman Lipsey, TJ Lipsey, I think he is a really good guard, a really good scorer, going to give Purdue some trouble, as well as Joshua Jefferson, a forward, who I think those two could give Purdue some trouble.
I saw a little bit of their game the other night, and I'm sorry, Milan Momcilovic, I believe is how you say it, had a really big night. Good athlete for them. Was 8 for 14 and scored 24 points. So I know they are capable with several different players deep, I believe.
That guy you just mentioned, I'm not going to try and butcher his name, but he's shooting 49.1% from three. So a really good shooter.
Whoa. This is a big test, but for some reason, no matter how good a team is, when a team comes to Mackey Arena, I just always kind of assume Purdue's going to win in every situation.
And I don't know why, but I kind of just have a different feeling about this team. About this Purdue team. They're battle tested. They've been through literally just about every situation a team can go through over the course of 4 years. It just feels different. I mean, they just feel more mature. They feel more battle tested, and I think against teams like this, they have the poise to really stay under control and not get flustered. We saw kind of the Memphis game. Purdue kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit early, and then they came back out and took control of the game and ended up winning. So I think Purdue should be favored in this one. I think it should be a little higher than that 55% chance that ESPN's given them. Iowa State is a good team. They definitely can give Purdue some trouble, but I think this Purdue team's just different.
So the new polls are out. The AP poll, Purdue is number one with 40 of the 61 first place votes. Michigan got 15. Arizona, which is actually ranked second, got 6. And in the coaches poll, Purdue 21 of the 31. Michigan 6. Arizona 3. Duke 1. Duke got a big win tonight as well.
This Michigan team, the past 2 games, they blew out both Auburn and Gonzaga. There in the Players Era tournament. It's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team there. It seems they barely beat Wake Forest at home. And Wake Forest they're a decent team. They probably make the tournament, but they're not a great team. And they play a pretty good Auburn team and a really good Gonzaga team, and they blow both of them out. I think Michigan's going to get a little better as the season goes on, and definitely probably the biggest competition here in terms of Purdue winning the regular season championship.
Seems right.
So they've got some good players from the portal, and luckily Purdue gets them and Mackey. They get both them and Michigan State and Mackey, and Illinois and Mackey as well. So got a pretty favorable schedule there. Yeah. So it's really, really important to win these games, like Rutgers, games that you should win. Really important to win those to give yourself as much cushion as possible.
Michigan State's looked really good as well, and coming off wins over Kentucky and North Carolina. And then Tuesday night over Iowa, 71-52. It was at home, so kind of expected, but still nice win over an unbeaten Iowa team with a new coach that probably felt like he could go in there and win a game. So nice start for Michigan State.
Iowa was a team that was receiving votes to be ranked, and they go and lose by 19 to a really good Michigan State team. Iowa just plays really slow. They're really likes to slow the game down and run their offense. So I thought they'd be a little better than that. I thought it'd be a little closer game. Iowa got a lot of transfers there from Drake, which is where their coach came from. So I think it might take them a little bit of time to get adjusted to the Big Ten, bodies and the physicality in the Big Ten, but still should be a good team throughout the season.
You mentioned Syracuse went over Tennessee tonight at Syracuse in the ACC SEC Challenge. Also, Duke beat Florida at the buzzer, essentially. A really good back and forth game there at the end. I think Florida's better than we expected to be able to go into Duke and play that way. Also, Cameron Boozer seems like he is the real deal. Also, as we currently speak, Jake, it is UConn 59-54 at Kansas, Kentucky 49-44 at over Carolina, and at the half, USC and Oregon tied at 39 at Oregon.
Yeah, I think both of those teams have a couple players out. The Nate Biddle for Oregon is out. So is Rodney Rice for USC. That's USC's leading scorer. And Nate Biddle's a really good big man. So both teams are playing down a man, but still pretty good teams without him. So at 39, that one should be a good one. Oregon 4-3. I thought they'd be a little better than they are, but it's just so hard early in the season to really tell what teams are going to be good. So now that we've seen some of some of these big non-conference games, and now we're getting into conference play, really start to see what teams are made of and really how good some of these teams are. But I thought Oregon would have been a little better than what they are now. But maybe they'll prove me right here later on, down the road.
I agree with you, but if USC goes into Oregon and wins that game, that means they're pretty good. Already 7-0 with win over Arizona State, Boise State, Seton Hall. Not a great resume, but not a bad one. And this would probably be their best win yet, although Arizona State's a pretty good win.
I think Seton Hall's been playing pretty well.
That's right.
As of late too. So yeah, been impressed by them as well.
Jake wanted to close by going back to Tuesday night's win over Rutgers. What jumped out to you?
Defensive rebounding percentage. I think this is the best performance Purdue has had, team-wise. Defensive rebounding percentage tonight was 80.6%. Purdue is pretty good, 73.5% on the season. So a 7% increase from the season average, which is really good.
At one point, it was well over 90. Rutgers had one offensive rebound with about 10 minutes left in the game.
There was one possession where they got two offensive rebounds off like long threes.
That's right.
That really kind of inflated those numbers there. But just 6 offensive rebounds for the game. They only scored 5 points off those 6 offensive rebounds, so didn't really come back to hurt Purdue at all. Really dominant performance on the glass. Trey Cochran, we talked about, played really well. I feel like CJ Cox, I don't think he'll necessarily stand out in the box score, but thought he played pretty well and rebounded well tonight. I feel like as a team, Purdue knows that that's something they're going to have to hone in on this season if they want to win. And good to see that translate to conference play after we've seen it, for the most part, be pretty a strength here for Purdue in the non-conference.
I think offensive rebounding is going to be a strength for this team. I'm still concerned about the defensive rebounding against good teams, and Iowa State is one of those. So that we'll see a little bit more about that on Saturday.
Also want to point out the foul differential here. Rutgers was committed 18 fouls, Purdue only 14. Purdue has drawn more fouls than they've committed by an average of 2 a game. This game, that difference was 4. So Purdue's continuing to, for the most part, defend pretty well without fouling and forcing their opponents into tough situations. There were some shots tonight that Rutgers hit that pretty much prayers that went in, and as they always seem to do against Rutgers, especially some of those prayers. But it did well in the foul differential as well, and assist to turnover ratio. Purdue was pretty clean and efficient tonight for the game. That assist to turnover ratio was 2, flat 2 for the season. Their average is 1.53. So 9 turnovers on 63 possessions tonight. So that's 14.3%, and they racked up 18 assists tonight. So yeah, pretty good and efficient performance.
And you mentioned the foul differential. Also, Purdue's making them pay for the foul, 17 for 20 from the line, and that's been a strength all year as well.
Would love to see that number every night from the line. I know it's not always feasible, but yeah, really good night from the stripe there. I thought the ball movement too was.
Yes.
We talked about the assists, it's a turnover ratio. The ball movement was great tonight. Oscar Clough had some good passes out from rebounds as a team. I mean, it's playing unselfish basketball, and it starts with Braden Smith and his willingness to pass, and I think that translates well to everybody else in the team. Found Jakari Harris open, wide open a couple times for some threes, and it was just really good ball movements tonight, and hopefully that will continue throughout the season because Purdue's going to need that.
The ball movement and player movement have been exceptional, particularly for early in the season.
And talked about Purdue being in control the entire game. They led for 36 minutes and 27 seconds out of the 40 minutes in the game. And after the opening minutes, Rutgers never realistically got back into the game. In the last 10 minutes of the second half, like we talked about, I mean, Purdue just didn't really look like they were trying on defense. And so I think margin could have been a little wider, but Purdue was kind of in control and just coasting there at the end.
All right, Jake, let's do this again on Saturday after the Iowa State game. Appreciate your time as always, and boiler up.
Yeah, absolutely. Boiler up.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.